Welcome to the Freedom Club Podcast, where we discover the fight for freedom, fulfillment, passion, and purpose. Your host is Curt Mercadante, Gallup certified strengths coach, an agency founder who is dedicated to coaching individuals seeking to level up their life and their businesses. The Freedom Club is about unlocking your talents, turning them into strengths, and crushing your objectives. You can learn more at curtmercadante.com. Welcome to the Freedom Club.
This is the Freedom Club Podcast. I'm your host, Curt Mercadante. It is Thursday, May 24th, one day before my beautiful wife and I celebrate our 16th wedding anniversary. I'm very excited about that. But because it is Thursday, it's time for our Thursday interview segment. Today, we have something a little different for you. I'm being interviewed. Earlier this month, I was a guest on the wonderful, stupendous Coffee with Kyle's podcast. I was in town down in Plano, Texas, just outside of Dallas to speak at LinkedIn Local Plano. That event was hosted by Burt and Kyle Witham, who, yes, are the stars of Coffee with Kyle's. Not only are they a popular podcast, and I urge you to search them out, go to Siri and say, "Hey Siri, play the Coffee with Kyle's podcast." They're also a hit on LinkedIn, where, as you know, I like to hang out and produce my videos as well. So without further delay, here is my very fun, and I hope you have as much fun listening to this podcast as I had taping the podcast. Here is my interview on the Coffee with Kyle's podcast. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the beard is here on set.
The Dumbledore of LinkedIn, the man behind the Freedom Club podcast and the Freedom League on Facebook.
I'm Curt Mercadante, drinking coffee with Kyle's.
Cheers.
Did I get that right?
You got that right.
Got it right.
So hey, what are you drinking there?
I'm drinking black with 2 Splenda, and I'm not supposed to drink Splenda because my wife tells me it's bad for me, but I drink it anyway. So usually I drink almond milk at home.
Okay.
So some almond sweetener, but yeah.
So, Curt, what are you obsessed with right now, professionally, in 2 words?
Interesting. In 2 words, obsessed with groupthink. That might be 1 word, but I'm separating it into 2.
Okay, so groupthink, expand on that.
I think that we are in a state where, from the time kids are out of the womb, even preschool, to now, where everything is focused on 4-year college, 4-year college, 4-year college. So we're creating an army of bots to compete with the bots, which makes
Right.
absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
And so we're quashing creativity, the things that we're going to need in the future. And when somebody goes just a little bit outside the box in terms of thinking maybe we should be educating and schooling kids in a different way, they look at you like you're completely weird. Even though they nod and say, yeah, we're doing it wrong. And then you say, well, let's do it this way. And they look at you weird. And so it's this groupthink. I like to call it society of bots. I'm obsessing over that lately.
So would you say it has to do with soft skills, how soft skills are going to take us into the future, and by that, like sales, communications, creativity type of skills, more so than like knowledge-based type skills?
I think, you know what, I think it depends on the individual person and finding their passion, their strengths, and being able to work toward those. Because right now, what we've done over the last, decade, 2 decades, is try to double down on standardization and conformity, where it's like, listen, you have to not just be good at, but you now have to excel on a test in 8 to 12 subjects, even if, like when my dad, he had an aptitude for math and a love of that, and they went to him in 8th grade and said, this was in the 30s, and said, would you like to go on an engineering track? You're really good at this. It didn't mean he was illiterate and didn't know how to read and write, but they found his passion went toward that. And now I tell people it's like taking Usain Bolt and saying your 100-meter time is awesome, but you're not going to be able to work on that anymore because your mile time sucks. So we're going to take you away from that. And a lot of people laugh, like when I say that, and I'm going to talk. I have a speech to HR professionals in a couple weeks, and it's like you laugh, but this is exactly what we're doing now. And creating those bots to compete with the bot. Not only are we not creating standardized people, the more we try to double down on it, the further behind we fall in math, science, and like reading and basic skills.
Right.
But even if, let's say, everyone did excel, in not even 5 or 10 years, creating bots to compete with the bots makes absolutely no sense. And so I think we have to allow people that sense of exploration and discovery that we come out of the womb with. There was in 2014, there was a school, preschool, or kindergarten that canceled their theater program. Kindergarten, because it wasn't getting the kids college ready enough.
What?
And so when I look at that stuff, it just drives me up the wall, and I think this is like world-ending type
Kids
stuff.
need to play, man. They need to play.
Yeah.
They need to create. And I heard what you said earlier, like they're focusing on your weaknesses. Don't focus on your weaknesses. Everyone else is doing that for you already. Like if you're good at running the 100-meter dash, then run the 100-meter dash every day, all day. That's what you do. You just do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Larry Bird was never going to be Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
He was slow. He says he was slow, and he couldn't jump very high. He admits that. He didn't focus on that. He focused on passing and shooting.
So what's cool about that is that, Larry Bird didn't become Michael Jordan, but he still became Larry Bird, and we're talking about Larry Bird.
Exactly.
The Birdman.
Yep.
And so, speaking of birds and speaking of flying, let's fly right into caffeinated questions.
Nice.
Left to right.
Great segue. Right.
Basketball or football?
Football.
Hockey or soccer?
Soccer.
Spider-Man or Ant-Man?
Spider-Man.
Batman or Superman?
Batman.
PC or Mac?
Mac.
The ocean or space?
Ooh. Space.
Skateboarding or bike riding?
Bike riding.
Would you live through the beginning of the world or the end of the world?
End of the world.
If you could travel in time and could only travel in that direction, would you travel forward in time or backwards in time?
Backward.
Up or down?
Up.
Clockwise or counterclockwise?
Clockwise.
Books or audiobooks? Physical books or audiobooks?
Physical books.
Classic movies or movies that are coming out in theaters?
Movies coming out in theaters.
Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers, begrudgingly.
LeBron James or Kevin Durant?
Kevin Durant.
Cinderella or Snow White?
Snow White.
I'm out.
Buzzer!
No buzzer?
Buzzer!
We download a buzzer.
The buzzer that you made me download. Hit the buzzer. What the? There it is.
Technical
there it is.
difficulties. Yeah.
Ah.
And that ends
That's
caffeinated
everywhere.
questions.
Time for an espresso shot! Hey Curt, if you could drink coffee with anyone that has ever lived but is no longer living, who would it be? What would you talk about? Why?
Jesus Christ. Would talk about if I'm doing enough to get myself and my family into heaven. What was the last question? Why?
Why?
Because that's the most important thing.
Got it.
Here's what I'll say before we give the double espresso shot is that it's a fake thing, man. So you'll be there.
Yeah.
All right, so double espresso shot.
I didn't get what you were talking about there for a second, but got it.
Double espresso shot. If you could have coffee with anyone that is alive today, who would that be, and what would you talk about over coffee?
I was actually thinking about this the other day. Joe Russo, he's one of the directors, the Russo brothers, directors of Avengers Infinity War, because I just found out he is a fellow Iowa Hawkeye like me, and I would really love to talk about the Avengers, his time at Iowa, and if he would like to be on my podcast.
Joe Russo, calling you out. Curt Mercadante wants to drink coffee with you.
That's right.
Yes.
All right, time for the final drop. One last piece of guidance or thought-provoking question. The floor is yours, Curt.
The question I have is, if you're too afraid to try something, if you're stuck in a rut, if you hate your job, or just have trouble getting up every day and have a sense of blah every single day, what is the fear that's holding you back, and what will it take to push you through that fear to a better life?